when they want to play with toys. They want to play with, want to play with Barbie. Not all the time. Most of them, they want to play.
So we're going to talk about men, and the focus for this particular session is awareness of the war that is being waged against men. And this is not a woe is me, we're trying to save us. It's actually because of the ripple effect on the society. Because once you hit men, which are generally the leaders in the society, you hit families. Once you hit families, you're beginning to destroy the society. So really, it's a case of humanity in general. So we're going to talk about that with podcast. People don't get that there's a war on men. You get a funny face like, which war is that? How there's a ripple effect because of the war on men. It affects everyone, even women. Or do you think people are not aware of the war?
First of all, I'm someone that's really passionate about this topic, the idea of addressing the issues about men, as someone who I'm a man myself. And also I've had the chance of being able to, lead a few men's forum for a number of years. I'm not really an old man, actually, so don't take it. When we talk about the war on men, I would like to just kind of like bring a perspective to the idea of what the war actually means.
The role men play or the way men behaved, is it just, like some people say, social construct? That is, we just somehow decided this is how men will behave. Because before globalization, before we all met, that is the north, east, south, if you went to a group of villages, you find out that the men there behaved similarly. And they might have not met someone or a group of men in another clan. So how is it a social construct if we're all behaving alike? That means if you try to tamper with it, if you try to make men women, like now there's something called feminization of men.
Now, it's very strange, is very emasculated feminine boys and women who can't trust them because they're not standing up and being strong. So women that then step up and become very masculine women. So, and school does that. School teaches women to be more masculine and it teaches boys to be more feminine, almost like tries to equalize us. And then so boys are confused. They want to be good boys. They want to do the right thing. They want to, do what seemingly women are asking them to do, which is to be less masculine, be more like women. But then women can't trust men because men aren't being men any longer. We're not strong, we're not firm. And so then the women step up and then we have these relationships, which relationships aren't working these days any longer. Divorce rates are out of control, but that are backwards, where you've got the woman who's the leader, the woman who's the aggressor, the woman who's very masculine in the relationship. And then the men who basically like bite their tongue, they basically pander and they become the feminine partner in the relationship.
Both men and women have feelings. We have emotions.
Yeah.
Right? However, the conduits through which we express those emotions are very different. And a lot of times they are based on what was modeled in front of us. So for instance, if I was raised by a single mother, for instance, now the thing is, if she's very, very, in quotes, very, very feminine, what I mean is she's very expressive, emotionally expressive. She's very soft-spoken, and then she's quite very expressive when she's happy. That means if she's happy, she laughs. She really laughs with her, with her whole mouth out and her hands up. And if she's sad, the whole world will know she's sad. Mm-hmm. She will express and cry and everything. Now, if I was raised by that kind of mother, chances are I would have the emotions that every human being has, which is sadness, anger, happiness, all of that. And I can only be able to express them from the model I saw in front of me, right? So if my mother is someone that is very expressive when she's emotional, chances are I might also be very expressive when I'm also very emotional. Now, this is not the case in every single setting, but in most of the setting, that's actually what happens. I can give an example for myself because I was raised by a mother who was very emotionally expressive. She'll come, she'll hug you, she'll hold your hand, she'll talk to you. She's if she's sad, the whole world will know she's sad. So I just subconsciously, I became that way. I became very expressive. I'll hold your hand, I'll touch you, brother, how you doing, man? I found out it was actually very uncomfortable for some guys. They felt like it wasn't comfortable touching them on their body and hugging them. So 'cause I hugged a lot. I would hug. Now I'm more restrained. But before I used to hug a lot. How you doing? And I'll call you darling, honey. How you doing? That's what my mom calls every human being on earth. Honey, honey. So whether you get what I'm saying. So now, if a young man is raised in that setting, right, and he begins to grow, chances are he might begin to express those seemingly feminine attributes. Now, and if he gets into an environment where other men who, in quotes, express masculine attributes, right, and he expresses these feminine attributes, it might be seen as odd. It might be seen as, he's not fitting into the masculine feature and attributes. However, there are also general things that we can observe in almost every single man we see around. For instance, when a baby is born, a child is born. If you see most girl child, right?
Yeah.
When they want to play with toys. They want to play with Barbie. Not all the time. Most of them, they want to play mommy. They want to play wife. So they are dressing the toys hair.
Yes.
They are trying to make food for it. They're trying to play, kitchen.
Yes.
Baby,
Yes.
how you doing? Everything. You see that happening, right?
Yeah.
And so they are kind of raised around about relationship, about family, about marriage, about that.
There have been some experiments where you leave the guy, by guy I mean the baby boy and the baby girl. And without the social construct, people feel the boy is more aggressive, he likes the cars, he likes the dirt. But the lady, the girl, she plays with toys, likes the more feminine, people related.
Yeah, so the thing is, like you mentioned, like rightly mentioned, like for the male child, he is more drawn towards superheroes, cars, so
Smashing stuff.
exactly smashing stuff. He call it toys of power. He's drawn to power. He wants to really, do things. So while the girl is thinking about relationships, about being a mommy, all of that, and it almost happens naturally. If she sees, for instance, people getting married and sees a white dress, she wants to wear a white dress too. You get the point? It just comes to her naturally because she's not setting out. However, so you see that there are certain things that come to us naturally,
Yes.
right from birth, and some are actually taught. Some are actually taught over time. They are expanded upon. So certain stereotype, what is often called toxic masculinity, to me actually it's not really completely accurate because it doesn't really bring to the fore the balance of the concept, because there are certain things that are peculiar to men. For instance, I wanted to talk with my mom about something, and then my dad wasn't available then, so I needed to get some answers. And she could give me great advice, but he could not get me because one thing was a hindrance. She was a woman. It was different because she could not completely understand what it was, which only a man could understand in that setting. Now what we're trying to do is that we're trying to make both men and women equal. And the question really is that really necessary? Because look at nature for instance, every single species of animals, even nature itself, thrives on inequality.
Yes.
Inequality, not necessarily in the sharing oppressor. Yeah, it's more like diversity. It's more like uniqueness of individual species. For instance, what you have, I don't have, and what I have, you don't have. So that level of not having the same thing brings that level of a complementary relationship per se. I
Yes.
think the frustration of most feminists rather is the fact that they don't feel like they are being fairly treated because there's no equal inclusion. And let me just retract and then mention that I'm not referring to inequality per se, but I'm talking about understand that there's actually a difference between a man and a woman. Physically we're different, structurally we are different, biologically we are different, and also even mentally we're different. The focus should not actually be on what men should be, but asking men to be authentic to who they really are. Mm-hmm. So it is actually a drawing, but it's actually a call for men to let's get back to discovering who we are. And you can't discover who you are without actually discovering who God is, because it's God who defines us as men. So it is because definitely the truth is this, as long as we live in this world, we're going to be clothed with challenges.
Yes.
You'll be faced with situations that will be tempting, that will mostly pull you down. Media ideas will always keep on going. They will always keep on throwing ideas
and changing to suit what they want.
Some people might be behind the curtain trying to bring up ideologies to eliminate men, because they know that once men are taken out of the equation, then it becomes a gain of two for one. Because if you can, as long as the man is still functional in the family, the family has a big chance. Like, for instance, there's a test that was done. It was said that if a child in a family gets it right, that's it, turns their life around in a positive direction, there's a 37% chance the family can actually make their lives around. But if the woman, that's the wife, the mother, turns to a positive light, it's probably a 50% chance the family could turn around. But if the man turns around, there's a 97% chance the whole family would take shape.
Yes.
And so it's very, very deliberate, because it is as though there's some kind of an intention to silence the man, to read him off. And by the time that is done, they can get the whole family for once.
So we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter, which is a hot topic today. So if you check Black Lives Matter's website, you have a what we believe. But listen to the wordings. We build a space that affirms Black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. Now, I thought this was about Black lives, but let's continue. We practice empathy. We engage comrades with the intent to learn about and connect with their context. Fine. Now, let's go to this very funny aspect. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. Oh, that sounds nice. Okay. We dismantle the patriarchal practice that requires mother to work double shifts so that they can mother in private even as they participate in public justice work. I don't think that's what patriarchy was all about. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirements by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the blah blah blah. Oh, just out of all I've read, just this one sentence: we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure.
But this is actually a call for men to really say, you know what, we know what has happened in society. We know the fact that maybe some men have actually messed up. Some men have actually not acted right. They've not done what they're supposed to. But some of them did it based on what they saw. It's not an excuse for misbehavior. But now the good men now have to stand up and say, you know what, the fact that has done doesn't mean that men should now be completely eliminated. There can be examples again given. The man's role is much more crucial now than ever before, because society has delved into extremes, and it's almost as though we are almost in a limbo right now. We're either here or there. And it's actually a call for men to actually step up to the fore and fix whatever has been broken in society.
And most importantly, I feel is who defines what a man is. And then if we cannot come to a consensus or come to agreement where we say it is God that defined what a man is, it's God that defined what a woman is. And yes, there are some social constructs that might be positive, some negative. But then at the core of it, it is God that says this is how a man behaves, because God himself has masculine and feminine behaviors. So it's to actually go to God. But the issue is we have an increasingly anti-God society. And subconsciously, this attack against men, women, marriage, the family is like an attack against God. Because the family and marriage represents or mirrors the relationship between Christ and the church. This is also a spiritual battle behind all this. Some are, like, the mastermind behind this, of course, is the devil. Because really, once you destroy the family structure, like, look at this Black Lives, look at this, look at what they're mentioning. Something that a lot of people are going behind. Like that. I know a lot of well-meaning people, of course. There are a lot of well-meaning people that are behind it. But they don't just understand the depths and the funny angle these people are coming from. Because you share similar concerns
Sentiment.
with a movement doesn't mean you should join it. Because in the long run, they will introduce something. That's how cults are. Cults will tell you, and no, don't worry, it's not this. That's at the low level. As you increase in ranks, you find out that I'm not meant to be in this place. Sometimes it's too late. So we'll talk more on this, but before we finish, Paul has an upcoming book. Can you tell us about the book?
All right, thank you so much for that. The book is titled "How to Be a Man in a Crazy World," and
Crazy.
in a crazy world. It's a very very in-depth read because it addresses various concerns that people shy away from. Funny enough, materials out there on men, majority are written by women. I love time written by very very intelligently objective women who have done their research really well, and they really put down various ideologies and concepts. And other times they are written by women who have been hurt, who have had experiences with men that were not so good, and so they write from that place of hurt and pain and all of that. And so they sometimes they give concepts that are not that's so clothed with subjective ideas that is not really objective enough. And so I saw the need for a man who's actually a man to step into the mix and also give his voice. So it's a book that actually addresses various, like for instance, how societies evolve and how ideas also evolve about who the man is and the pressures that men go through daily. And it explains to the women also our language, our language of communication, because a lot of ladies, we don't actually understand how men communicate. We don't understand how men think. You can misunderstand a man's silence and think it means indifference or no interest. Like for instance, I gave an ideology in the book how a woman was complaining about the fact that she was. They were having bills coming. They're having so many things to do, and the man was just on his remote. He was just silently doing his thing and watching football. And then she was like, "Why are you not being interested?" And then the thing is, many days after, the man now came and said, "Oh, that thing you said that day, and that thing that she had forgotten already what she said." So the fact that he was silent didn't mean he wasn't listening. But the thing is, both men and women go through the same thing emotionally, but we communicate them differently. Women communicate by talking.
Yes.
We communicate by either action or by silence.
Yeah.
A lot of times. In fact, we are the loudest when we are silent. When a man is really having issues, you don't really see him talking. You see him crying. You don't see him crying. You actually just see him just quiet. Silent. And I mentioned about what women can do when a man, I call it the cave experience. When a man enters into that cave experience of just withdrawing to himself, a lot of times you just want to ask him, what's wrong? And the more you ask him, the more he's angry because you're stressing him out.
You're trying to make him open up when he's not ready to.
He's not ready. And most times, a lot of times he's thinking, by the time he opens up to you, you'll be emotional, you start getting...
And that is his way of handling the emotion by being silent.
Yeah, and then by the time you become very emotional like that, it gets him feeling like... In fact, you make him feel worse because we are mostly built to fix things, to fix problems. So when it seems like he's not able to fix an issue, like things are gripping out of his hand, slipping out of his hand without him able to have a firm grip on it, it makes him feel less of a man. It makes him feel like he's disappointed in himself. So there are things women can do when a man has that cave experience. I won't tell you what it is.
Yeah,
You have to buy the book.
But when is the book coming out?
The book is coming out by December this year. It's already done. I'm done writing. It's just with the editor right now, and so it will be published very soon. So be on the lookout. It's going to be an amazing book. It's a book you must have. I'm not just saying because I'm the one that wrote it, but it's a book that you need to read. It's like if actually I've seen that kind of book, I'll buy it myself because it's very objective. At the same time, addresses very, very intricate issues. I talked about rape. I talked about why men cheat. I talked about attributions. I talked about because I talked about the fight of our lives, some of the internal wars that men go through, when men experience, and I talked about a lot about history, about a lot of stories that have been done before, and then I talked about how men can get healed. And it's a book that every woman needs to read, because by reading you understand a lot more about men than you've ever did in your life. I literally mean that. And also men can also get to understand certain things about themselves. Absolutely. That is so crucial, that you can also, because he talks about the healing that has to take place as well, and also the legacy of fatherhood, as fathers, and the impact of fatherhood to sons.
Yeah.
How fathers actually impact on sons. And actually, it's a book that I've actually seen some people just read a snippet of the manuscript, and also I've seen tremendous feedback. It's been very, very incredible.
So coming
I think
soon,
you need to look out for it. So coming soon, yes.
All right, so I think that will be that for this particular video. We'll have more, because a lot of these topics deserve a whole talk on their own, because we have not talked about many other things. A trending topic in this generation is like rape and all these things. But I think if the way we're trying to approach it is emotional and not logical, because understanding the problem is like 50%. It helps us to understand how to solve it. So we'll talk more on all those kind of issues. And also for the coming generation, that is men protecting. Me, I'm very passionate about men, firstly, being example to sons, but also, for some reason, I feel the daughters need to be protected from the outside world and shown the right example of what a man, because children come up so innocently. They need that protection. The world is actually after children as well, in a very funny way. But that's another whole story. So that will be it for today. So thank you, Paul, for today's enlightenment.
Really great to be here. Thank you so much, Charles.
Yeah.